What's up, ladies and gentlemen? This is the Jose Show. Happy Monday. I hope that everyone gets to enjoy their lovely day. But anywho, let's get into the hot topic, shall we? Now let's talk about Russell Brand. So Russell Brand is being sued for sexual assault for an alleged incident on the Arthur movie set, and the studio behind the film is offering to turn over unseen footage from the production. So Warner Brothers Discovery told the court the company is ready to hand over outtakes from Arthur as part of a civil sexual assault case against Russell in New York, according to a new report in the Times of London. So as TMZ reported, a woman sued Russell and Warner Brothers in 2023, claiming Brand exposed his penis to her on set and then sexually assaulted her in a bathroom on the same day of filming. So in a New York Supreme Court hearing last week, attorneys for Warner Brothers reportedly offered to turn over unseen footage from 2011's Arthur, and it sounds like there's about 4 to 8 hours of video to shift through. Okay, so as TMZ told us, Russell's accuser, who was suing as a Jane Doe, claims prior to the alleged assault he appeared intoxicated, smelled of alcohol, and was carrying a bottle of vodka on set. Brands denied her claims, saying he doesn't remember her and claiming there was no way he was drunk on set because at the time he'd been sober for 8 years. Alright, so Warner Brothers also denied the woman's allegations. So this is really insane. I personally believe that Russell Brand might not be the sexual assaulter that this woman is making him seem to be, because it sounds like it that this woman only wants money from the lawsuit and she only wants to be known as the victim. She in reality doesn't have any trauma. She in reality doesn't have any harm from anyone, especially from this guy. So I'm sure that what's going to end up happening is that there's going to be a lot of proof going on showing that this woman is actually lying after all. Okay, because let's be honest. If there was actually an assault going on in between Russell Brand and this woman, especially Russell Brand showing off his genitals to a woman, I believe that Warner Brothers should have and would have taken action a long time ago, because the first thing that Warner Brothers wants is to, be a safe environmental company. And the first thing that Warner Brothers wants is to prevent any lawsuits. And of course, they are always on the lookout if anything bad happens on set. So that's the reason why I believe that this is all a lie from the woman, that she actually got assaulted by this guy. So what I do think, though, is if this woman is actually lying, by the way, I believe it's a funny accusation that she's going off saying that Russell Brand got to show off his penis to her, and then later off, he went off and assaulted her in a restroom. Because it sounds like it to me, especially since Russell Brand is really good looking, that she wishes that she would see the guy's you-know-what, and that she wishes she would have a sexual relationship with the guy, since Russell Brand is so darn good looking, But if it's all true, though, that this woman is actually the victim of this guy, then poor her. Oh my goodness, I believe the woman needs to seek some therapy, and she definitely needs to win the lawsuit, and so. But 99% of my belief is that this woman is lying, and that this woman is actually another Amber Heard. So please, if you're going to be making accusations about something, just make them well and actually be truthful about it. Don't be going off lying, and don't go off trying to hurt somebody's reputation. Okay, so anyways, unfortunately, Russell is, already facing a rape and a sexual assault charges for 4 separate alleged incidents from the past, by the way, from the late 90s and the early 2000s. So that's already a huge loss for the poor guy, because it sounds like that he's already going to be facing a lot of prison time for what he just did. But I believe that there are still hopes in that case as well, because I do believe that if Russell Brand actually has a really good lawyer that will back him up and give the court the truth that this guy, Russell Brand, is actually not the sexual assaulter that these other women are making him seem to be, then of course Russell Brand is good to go. He's not going to be facing any prison time in the end. Okay, and I do also believe that as for those other cases, it's also a lie, because I believe that it's really ridiculous that after so many years, these women are now coming forward saying stuff about Russell Brand when they could have done that a long time ago. You know? So this is just a bunch of money stuff from these women. This is all a bunch of publicity stuff from these women, and that's what I highly do believe. So if I really think that these women are victims, I think I'd be dumb to believe that. Just saying, but let's just see what happens in the next few days. Let's just see what happens in the next few months on what's going to happen with these cases and what's going to happen with that case in between that woman that accused him of showing off his penis to her as well. All right, now on to the next topic. Now let's talk about Damon Wayans. So nothing's off limits for Damon Wayans, not even his nephew's ex-girlfriend, because he's just openly admitted falling in love with her, and years later he's not sorry about it. So on Shannon Sharp's Club Shay Shay podcast, the host laid down the rule: no exes of family members, but Damon couldn't care less, saying his nephew was never in love with the unnamed woman, but he definitely was. Alright, so Damon Wayans said he met the woman in 2001 after his divorce from Lisa Thorner, fell in love at first sight, and only later found out she dated his nephew, something he casually chalked up to the Slim California dating pool. So he did have a talk with his nephew before diving into anything serious with the woman, hilariously recalling, I'm like, you know what's up? And he's like, that's you. And I'm like, okay, past the Corvature, let's go. And I went ahead and I fell in love and it was okay. So still, it did result in some fallout in the family dynamics. Damon explained group gatherings are now awkward at best. No doubt it would be hella interesting to be a fly on that wall. Alright, so considering the size of the Wayans family, though, perhaps an incident like this was bound to happen sooner or later. So this is really insane, and this is really awkward that this man ended up falling in love with his nephew's ex-girlfriend, because this is a family situation here, okay? And since this is a family situation, I believe that you need to stay out of that relationship that was once in the ownership of your own relative. All right? And the reason to why I'm saying this is because since your relative was already going through a lot with that person in the past, you do not want to relive that same crap yourself. And also, you don't want to be that kind of person that is, trying to take away that person from your own relative. I mean, it might not be the case, but it does seem like it by already seeing it in a way where now Damon Wayans is already dating his nephew's ex-girlfriend right after his nephew was dating her. And what I'm also noticing is that it really creates a lot of awkward sensations, because apparently and unfortunately, since Damon is the family member of the nephew that once dated this girl, well, this guy is going to continue to see this ex-girlfriend of his because of the fact that now this ex-girlfriend of his is now dating Damon. And then it's just going to be even more awkward from there. And then there's going to be more tense stuff going on. There's going to be more friction going on, not just with Damien, but also with this girl that is now dating Damon. And then the next thing you know, it's going to be more fights and more fights. So if I were Damon, I would have not checked out on the girl in the first place, and I would have actually checked out on other girls instead. Girls that are not and that have never had anything to do with any of my family members. That's for sure. Especially because there are many beautiful girls out there that Damon could have checked out. Alright, there are many fish in the sea, but unfortunately Damon did not see it that way. Damon was all like, no, I'm gonna be with this girl and this and that. And I mean, maybe Damon didn't know that this girl was once dating his nephew, but yet again, once he found out about the situation, he could have backed off and been like, okay, well, this is just awkward. I might as well just be dating somebody else, and that's it. So why make things really awkward? You know, just be clean. Stay away from any issues, okay? Period. It's not hard. Jesus. But anyways, on to the next topic. Now let's talk about Jenna Ortega. So Jenna Ortega is revealing the real reason she stepped away from the Scream franchise following 2 successful films in the series. So the Wednesday star appeared in the 5th and 6th films in the series and was expected to return for the 7th installment, but all that changed in November of 2023 when it was reported she had exited the project. So the news, which she didn't comment on at the time, came one day after co-star Melissa Barrera was reportedly fired from the franchise over social media posts about the Israel-Hamas conflict. At the time, Christopher Landon was on board to direct after directing duo Radio Silence Tyler Gillette and Matt Bettolini Open exited the movie as well. So she got to say this. It had nothing to do with pay or scheduling, Ortega said in a new interview with The Cut. After initial reports at the time of her exit cited a conflict with the filming schedule for Wednesday Season 2 and Beetlejuice. Okay, so the Melissa stuff was happening and it was all kind of falling apart. She added, if Scream wasn't going to be with that team of directors and those people I fell in love with, then it didn't seem like the right move for me in my career at the time. So The Cut originally published the interview with the Melissa stuff mentioned before removing that and any mention of Barrera entirely. The publication later added it back. Okay, so eventually director Landon left the project as well, with original Scream scribe Kevin Williamson coming aboard to helm the 7th film. So with the exits of both Barrera and Ortega's characters, the script shifted to focus more on Neve Campbell's Sidney Prescott, who sat out the 6th film after Campbell's pay dispute with the studio. Alright, so anyways, this is really insane. I believe that there is a really good reason behind as to why Melissa Barrera ended up exiting the movie, because I do think that the whole entire Israel-Hamas situation is a really delicate thing to talk about. And I believe that since it's really delicate, we should just, keep our mouth shut about it because, unfortunately, we as humans, we can end up saying stupid things that can later affect so many people, especially the people over in Israel. And we must be very, very cautious on how we are saying things as well. Because, hey, we as people, we need to acknowledge that over in Israel, things have not been easy. Things have been difficult. Things have been awful, okay? And I believe that it takes someone that lives over there to actually acknowledge how awful things have been over in Israel. Now, I believe that as for Jenna Ortega, I think that it's a really good thing that she got to exit the Scream franchise, because I believe that it would be a pain for her having to be doing Wednesday and then having to do other things along with Scream at the same time, because being an actor, especially an actor for several stuff, it really is so complicated to the point that you will go nuts because there's so many scripts you have to read, and then there's so many hours on set that you have to be in. It's not just being on set for an hour. It's being on set for like maybe 12, 13 hours or maybe 14 hours doing just one scene. And then later on, what happens is that then your mental health is not going to be straight up to the roof. It's going to be down to the toilet because of all of those things. And then later on, it's just going to be very complicated for the poor woman, of course, having to make sure that she's able to get all of those roles well for those movies or for those shows. So I really do understand as to why Jenna Ortega decided to not be on the Scream franchise anymore because of those things. We have to put ourselves in her own shoes, okay? And she already has been working so hard since she was a kid anyways. I mean, she was on Disney Channel, was stuck in the middle, I remember, doing her own thing, and she was already gaining a lot of fame ever since then, so she's a hardworking person after all, okay? But anyways, now that Jenna Ortega is not going to be in the show, and now that Melissa Barrera isn't going to be in the show either, I think that it's going to be very interesting having to see that different actors are going to be in this franchise of Scream, which, by the way, is going to be set for a February 27, 2026 release. And the cast, by the way, is going to be very different. It's going to be Joel McHale, McKenna Grace, Anna Camp, Mark Consuelos, and Ethan Embry that are also added in the cast, by the way, along with Courtney Cox, Jasmine Savoy Brown, and Mason Gooding, and David Arquette, Matthew Lillard, and Scott Foley. So it's going to be a really good cast anyways. It's not going to be a horrible cast. So, I mean, they are going to be able to save the franchise after all. So anyways, good luck to this cast and good luck to this franchise. All right, now on to the next topic. Now let's talk about Barack Obama. So Barack Obama is getting candid about his relationship with his wife Michelle Obama and revealing some of their marital challenges. Now the former president was talking to students at Hamilton College on Thursday when he told the crowd he was in a deep deficit with my wife after 8 years in the White House. Okay, so Barack added, I have been trying to dig myself out of that hole by doing occasionally fun things. Obama pulled back the curtain on his marriage with Michelle while answering a question from Hamilton College's president, Stephen Tepper, who asked what Barack had been up to lately. So Barry says most of his time goes to his Obama Foundation and is finishing the second half of his presidential memoirs, which he joked was like 50 term papers. So the Obamas have been married since 1992, but they haven't been spotted out together a lot this year, despite Barack claiming he's trying to do fun stuff with Michelle. So in March alone, we saw Barack at Los Angeles Clippers game and out to dinner in LA without Michelle, and she wasn't with him at Jimmy Carter's funeral or Donald Trump's 2025 inauguration. All right, so this is insane. I believe that the reason why Michelle Obama and Barack Obama haven't been together at all, especially in these events, is because I believe that Michelle Obama is a really busy woman doing her own thing, as much as Barack Obama is also a busy man doing his own thing. We cannot just sit here and make assumptions that things are going bad in between Michelle Obama and Barack Obama. All right? And I'm pretty sure that behind the closed doors, Barack Obama and Michelle are still together. They're happy to be together. And there is no way that they would let their own kids, by the way, be without a dad or be without a mom or have their own parents separated, because that right there would be so darned bad for their own kids, especially because their kids are already in the young adult ages. Now, I believe, though, that yes, Michelle Obama, in my opinion, should have been in the inauguration with Barack Obama to support Barack Obama, and I do believe that Michelle Obama would have been with her own husband, especially in other events, but in my opinion, I believe that, when things happen, things happen. Now, do I believe that Michelle Obama is happy that she is on her own and that she is just focused on her own things? I mean, kind of, because she is doing her own things. And by things, I don't know what things, but I can imagine she's doing things. But I do think that she kind of isn't happy at the same time that she's on her own, because at the end of the day, I do believe that she wants to be in the company of her own husband, after all, as much as Barack Obama wants to be in the company of his own wife, Michelle Obama, you know? So with all of that being said, like I said, I do think that they are both happily ever after. They do love each other very much, but they're just not showing it at the moment because of certain situations, and that's normal. I would believe, though, that the both of them are not together if, let's say, they were to unfollow each other on Instagram, or they were to maybe make it public that they are no longer together, or maybe we would see that Michelle is already seeing a different man and Barack Obama is already seeing a different woman, and maybe another red flag would be if we were to ask Barack Obama something about Michelle and Barack wouldn't say anything, and same with Michelle. So we need to look out for those red flags instead of just sitting down assuming things that could not be true. So this is just a bunch of political stuff, to be honest, and I believe that this is something that the Republican Party is already laughing at this point, because, I mean, you know, they do not like the Obamas, as we all know, especially the Trump supporters. So anyways, on to the next topic. Now let's talk about Jeffrey Epstein's accuser, Virginia Giuffre. So Jeffrey Epstein's accuser, Virginia Giuffre, claims she was sex trafficked to billionaire Les Wexner on multiple occasions, according to newly unsealed court documents. The explosive claim is from Giuffre's deposition from a 2015 lawsuit that involved allegations against Epstein associate Ghislaine Maxwell. In the deposition transcript obtained by TMZ, Giuffre claims she had sex with Wexner several times and estimates it possibly happened more than 5 times. So Wexner is the former CEO of Victoria's Secret, and in 1987 he hired Epstein to work as his financial manager, with Wexner granting Jeffrey Epstein a power of attorney over his massive fortune. So also in the deposition, Giuffre says she wore different types of lingerie for Wexner, adding it was Maxwell who set it up and it wasn't Wexner's request. Alright, so as specifically if it was Victoria's Secret, Giuffre said she didn't recall the exact brand. Alright, so Giuffre also claims she met Bill Clinton twice and Al Gore once via Epstein, but doesn't say she had sex with them. So this is really insane, ladies and gentlemen, that this is going on here. Sex trafficking is something that is really serious, and it's something that is so awful. Now, Virginia Giuffre must have gone through so much when she went through all of that crap, because I just can't imagine just having to pose all sexual for a perv like that man that is over here wanting to see your body parts and that is over here wanting to do stuff with you and this and that. And I feel so horrible for this woman also because of the fact that this woman, I believe, was in a situation where she was forced to do all of these things, or else her life, I'm pretty sure, would have been in danger if she would have not done these things for this man, Les Wexner. And, you know, I believe that she had to keep her mouth shut because of all of those things, of course. Now, I do think, though, that it's really interesting that she got to meet Bill Clinton and Al Gore via Epstein, because, I mean, if she met them via Epstein, then I don't know, man. I mean, I believe that Epstein was really good friends with them, or maybe Epstein just knew them very, very well, which is how Virginia ended up meeting Bill Clinton and Al Gore via Epstein. I don't know, but what I can say, though, is that Bill Clinton and Al Gore, I'm pretty sure they don't have anything to do with this man, Epstein, because I do believe that Bill Clinton and Al Gore are good people. I don't think that they would ever be associated nor ever do anything stupid like what Epstein did with multiple women. And I don't think that they would ever do anything bad, especially like what Epstein did either. So anyways, I do believe, though, that this whole entire thing that she has here, where she is talking about how she got into a situation with Les Wexner and this and that, is already a huge alarming thing for everyone out there that is the victim of sex trafficking and that is the victim of so many sexual assault cases, that you need to speak up, and you need to really be brave enough to say what you went through and not be afraid of the people that are threatening you and putting you into the situation. So this is all just a wake-up call in my opinion. But anyways, it's really disgusting, and it's really, really traumatizing. I can already imagine to what she went through, especially because of the fact that she did have sex with Les Wexner multiple times. And I believe that it was just a very, very rapey situation, because I believe that, of course, this woman did not want to have sex with Les Wexner at all in the first place anyways. So anywho, Wexner is the former CEO of Victoria's Secret, and I believe that him being the CEO was already giving him advantage to be doing whatever the hell he wanted to do with Virginia and with maybe other multiple women, who knows, because of how much these women are beautiful to him, and because of the fact that he was in charge of them and doing whatever he would tell them to do anyways. So it really is a very pervy situation, and all of this needs to stop for once and for all. Okay, but anywho, that is it for today's show, ladies and gentlemen. I really hope you guys enjoyed today's lovely episode of the Jose Show. Till next time, and peace.